Good morning, rise and shine. It is Green Nurse Carey Lee and Sherri time. Welcome to the Green Nurse Podcast. We're going to get started with one of my favorite videos to start off this wild Wednesday. Happy Hempy Hump Day. Here we go.
We changed the paradigm of healthcare.
The Green Nurse is a holistic cannabis nurse that teaches on the endocannabinoid system and the safe utilization of cannabis and other progressive tools to help people reach a better quality of life.
I'm the founder of Holistic Caring. We're based here in California, and we do educational programs and case management for patients on how to use cannabis therapeutically as a medicine.
We're also here to decrease stigma around what it means to feel good and be high, hence the H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing.
As the founder of Holistic Caring, I basically oversee the whole ship, and what we're doing is progressive education.
Cannabis actually supports all 11 organ systems, our immune system, and all the neurotransmitter signaling systems that give messages to tell our body to either do something or not do something. Because the plant was prohibited, it prevented health professionals, doctors and nurses from learning about cannabis as medicine.
I want to change the paradigm of healthcare and us paving the way into a new vanguard of medicine. And I'm excited to really bring this into light. There's a company called Canum that we're merging with, and we will now be doing global education.
It's about education, it's about empowerment, it's about teaching people how to feel good, bridging the gap from what they're not getting from traditional medicine, utilizing different plant medicines, adaptogens, tips, tricks, hugs, and nugs of information to support and nourish the most important system in our body.
And it's a lot of soul work, a lot of love, a lot of discipline, and meditation. I'm using my life work as a testimony to others to learn how they can be their own hero and then go help heal the world.
And we are, as nurses, the game changers.
Oh my gosh.
Growing in health, growing in cannabis. What is it, Carey Lee? Peace begins with me. Inhale, Ananda. So good morning, everyone. This is the Green Nurse Podcast. So happy to be back in New England, although I do miss all of my West Coast people. I tell you what, I'll be back. But anyways, we're here today, Wednesday. What is it? Wednesday, November 3rd, correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
November.
Only Wednesday, November 3rd, we're ever going to have 2021. And I'm here with Green Nurse Iowa, Carey Lee, who I'm going to have introduce herself to everyone because we love Carey Lee. She's doing some amazing things in the cannabis space and the psychedelic space, and truly stepping into her authentic self as an amazing healer and a gifted registered nurse. So welcome to the show, Carey Lee.
Thank you, Sherri. Good morning, everybody. My name is Carey Lee Lure. I am a registered nurse here in Iowa. I connect patients to Iowa's medical program. I teach them about the endocannabinoid system, how to choose products in a safe manner so that they can use the plant in a safe and effective way so they can accomplish their health goals. I'm also a green nurse mentor in the Holistic Caring Network community and a nursing supervisor. And I'm a ketamine nurse for Keta MD. My most passionate position is as a stigma fighter for both mental health patients as well as cannabis, those who like to use the plant. So it's okay to feel good, right? It's okay to feel good.
Yeah, it is. And welcome, everyone. It's been a little while. I mean, I think the last time I was on was with you or Kathleen. I don't remember, but it was last week. Time goes by so fast in a
It
blink of an eye,
does, especially when you're traveling, and oh my gosh,
especially
it's
when
a
you're traveling.
whole other thing, isn't it?
It is
Good
a whole
stuff,
other
though.
thing.
Good stuff.
Really, really good stuff. So many exciting things we can't wait to share with you all. But today we're going to start off with a little bit of love, a little bit of positivity, some affirmations, pulling cards. And today I want you all to remember that we all have choices to show up as our favorite versions of ourselves. Now, I'm not going to lie. Some days I wake up and I'm like, I don't know if I'm feeling like the favorite version of myself. But here's the thing. We do have those tips and tricks. We do have those hugs and nugs, and we do provide you with a lot of loving woo-woo. So
Woo woo
here we
woo.
go. Carrie Lee has put on her specs, and we are going to shuffle, 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 and pull a card so you guys can start off your day. What is it? The power of surrender, Carrie Lee. Let's talk about
Yes,
what
the
we're pulling
power
from.
of surrender cards. This is it's not a typical Oracle deck. It's actually a deck created by Dr. Judith Orloff. And I use it personally as a tool to help reprogram negative core beliefs and to help quell and flip the switch on negative rumination, these story loops that keep repeating over and over again. So really, really helpful, useful tool. And okay, you pick a number 1 through 3. I'm going to split the
3.
deck in 3, love. 3.
Trifecta.
Trifecta. Okay. Ooh, here we go. It's green. Surrender to trust. Trust yourself and your decisions. Don't be swayed by other people's strong opinions about what to do. Take action and be confident that you have chosen the right path. I love this. I love this. I love this, because who better to trust than yourself and your inner voice, your intuition, right?
Tuition. That's why we always talk about, what do we talk about every day? Time to go in. That
Yeah.
still, quiet, silent, lovely, spiritual voice is the voice of spirit. Spirit works with us. And let me tell you something. Cannabis opened up my eyes to new levels of wellness, not only for my physical self, but my mental, emotional, and spiritual self. And cannabis has taught me how to trust in the process. Because I tell you what, 9 years ago, I wasn't doing so hot. Right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
cannabis came into my life and changed it for the better, helped me to work through these mind, body, and spirit challenges to get to the other side. And this is going to be really interesting because we're going to talk a little bit about what happens to patients over time when they're experiencing chronic illness and being placed on multiple pharmaceuticals, right? So today's we're going to talk about pharmaceutical trauma and what that means, drug nutrient depletion for people that are prescribed pharmaceuticals, and we'll give a couple of examples. And then CBD as an agent. So when we talk about polypharmacy, we're going to talk about what that means, but then we're also going to talk about CBD as an agent that could mimic that polypharmacy for a good reason and also support all of our systems. So Carrie Lee, have you had any experiences with polypharmacy?
Well, gee, yes, both personally and professionally, in fact. So my former conventional nursing gig was in a skilled nursing facility, and majority of my residents were elderly, and you bet polypharmacy runs rampant in our elderly population. It's actually heartbreaking, especially when you have the knowledge as a cannabis enthusiast and cannabis nurse. That we could be reducing the amounts or eliminating prescriptions altogether when
Yeah.
utilizing the plant. So
Yeah. So think about this too. So polypharmacy, we're going to define pharmaceutical trauma in a minute, but let's talk a little bit about what polypharmacy looks like. So basically, it's more than 5 medications And when you're looking at polypharmacy, statistics have reported that if you're taking more than 5 pharmaceuticals at one time, there's a 50% chance of a drug interaction. So let's just double that. So a lot of patients are on more than 5. I know I was on 18, but the statistics also state that if you're on more than 10 medications at the same time, there is a 100% chance that they're interacting, and they're interacting in a way that is not beneficial to you.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Statement of fact with a capital F.
And
So
you know, when they interact, you know, and you really, you're taking, you know, 10 plus medications. How do you know
yeah, how do you
definitively
know?
which
Yep.
medication is causing what interaction, what side effect? You know what I mean? It's just,
Yeah,
it's
I
crazy.
totally agree with you. Totally
Yeah.
agree with you. So think about here, let's define, I spoke at the Cannabis Nurses Network. I think it was in 2020, last summer. We did it was summer we recorded it, and in the fall we showed it. And I remember you came to my house for that.
I
And
did.
basically, we presented on pharmaceuticals, the whole path. Do you have to choose one or the other, or could you utilize both? And basically, we looked at what patients are coming to us for, why they're coming to us, and generally all the different pharmaceuticals that they're on and the questions that they have when they come to us. So when we started to delve in a little bit more to this topic, and I started to study and research and bring things down, I was like, wait a minute, this is a true phenomenon. I've seen it, I've experienced it, and there have been multiple patients that have come to us that are on so many different pharmaceuticals, they're scratching their head. And I'm going to just tell you too, 9 times out of 10, when I'm working with patients and even patients that start using cannabis, I look at all the pharmaceuticals they're on, and we have to think about, do you really need this? Let's talk to your doctor. Let's talk about what's going on and why you may not be improving with cannabis right away.
Yeah.
And so that's something
Yeah.
to think about. But pharmaceutical trauma, let's talk about what that is. We'll define it. So a pharmaceutical is a compound manufactured for use as a medicinal drug. You got to remember, according to the FDA, only FDA drugs are the things that can be used to diagnose, cure, treat, or prevent a disease. So just think about that. Let that sink in. So we have the FDA telling us that the only thing that we can claim or be used to diagnose, cure, or treat a disease is a pharmaceutical that they make, that they approve of. So then trauma, let's just get into what's trauma. So trauma results from an event or a circumstance that a person perceives as being physically or emotionally harmful or life-threatening. And this experience has lasting adverse effects on a person's mental, physical, emotional, social, and or spiritual well-being. So when we think about healing the concept of pharmaceutical trauma, what I think of right away is, let's educate on the endocannabinoid system, because everything that we do or don't do either supports or doesn't support. And when we talk about pharmaceuticals, a big thing that people don't realize, there is a drug nutrient depletion for a lot of the pharmaceuticals that exist. And we actually have drug mugger PDF, meaning the drug muggers are those pharmaceuticals that don't allow you to utilize specific nutrients or decrease absorption, or they're just not utilized or uptaked in the body appropriately. These are micronutrients, and we all know we talk about nutrition as being one of the fundamental tools for a healthy endocannabinoid system. So back to pharmaceutical trauma. So when we're looking at using pharmaceuticals to treat an illness or an injury, we need to look how it also may impact our mental, emotional, and spiritual health. So we as cannabis nurses are seeing more and more patients who have experienced, and I'm just going to say it, medical neglect and pharmaceutical trauma. And it's not because of what the conventional system is doing. What it is their lack of education and understanding of the endocannabinoid system. So we're seeing this phenomenon in our patients that are coming to us for cannabis education with the intention of using cannabis because the conventional system, including big pharma, has failed them. So what are we seeing? We're seeing a lot of fearful patients. And what does it start with? It starts with healing the spirit, right? So the drug stress trauma syndrome, believe it or not, there is such a thing. Okay, interesting. And Carey Lee, after I name these, what it looks like, the cycle. So the drug stress trauma syndrome is a vicious cycle that's complex, and many people have experienced it, including myself. So
And
here we
me.
go. This is what, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is what it looks like. It looks like this. Patients come and they take pharmaceuticals. Pharmaceuticals aren't effective. It's not working. They may have side effects, adverse reactions, allergic reactions. And oftentimes doctors will say, I don't know, this is a treatment failure. Or maybe we can add another drug. Maybe we can start new drugs. And so what ends up happening is more pharmaceuticals are being prescribed with more increasing likelihood of interactions. Remember what we talked about, polypharmacy, more than 50% chance of interacting. So then what happens is patients start to feel distress, right, from these toxic effects. They stop some of these pharmaceuticals, they may have withdrawal, there may be disrupted sleep. And then you have the emotional roller coaster, non-support by clinicians. Oftentimes patients are labeled and stigmatized. And then what happens to us as patients? We feel guilty, we feel shame, we feel confusion. And honestly, at that particular time, a lot of patients are looking at, is it me? What's going on? Why can't they figure it out? I remember one point in time when I was on over 18 pharmaceuticals and nothing was working, and I was going from one doctor to the other doctor to the other doctor. I truly thought that I was possessed. Seriously. So patients have these guilt, shame, and confusion. And then there's other comorbidities that go along with pharmaceuticals being ineffective. So what other times patients may do is they may develop other mental health disorders, agoraphobia, anxiety, panic disorder, depression, OCD. So we have all of these things it's that vicious cycle. And so then the other thing too that oftentimes happens with patients is that they may turn to alcohol or other non-pharma prescribed drugs to help manage their symptoms. And so this is definitely
their coping. Yeah, it's their coping mechanism, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So do you have any case studies, or Carey Lee, or any personal stories that you like to share about what you've seen?
I don't have any one particular individual. I myself personally have suffered from, have dealt with pharmaceutical trauma. The majority of my clients that are coming to me are their number one health goal is to reduce or discontinue medications that they're taking, specifically psychiatric medications. I'm not talking about acute cases.
Right.
I'm talking about people that are just not thriving, and they're not living their best. They're truly not.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing that I see is that um, they're not getting relief from the medications that they're being prescribed. They'll go and complain, hey doc, this is going on, this side effects popping up, whatnot. Doctor writes another prescription. Well, I've got something that'll take care of that side effect so that you can tolerate the other
Right.
pharmaceutical a little bit better. But that's where that vicious cycle really comes into play. They're not getting relief from what they're initially seeking treatment for, and then they're experiencing all of these other heinous side effects that, quite frankly, are just as bad, if not worse, than the reason that they're seeking
Mhm.
treatment for. And that was me. Truly, that was me. And so, as a clinician, when you're prescribing, you're always looking at weighing the risk versus the benefits of prescribing, this particular pharmaceutical. But gosh, I never thought in a million years I'd be in a situation where you're not getting relief and the side effects are even worse than what what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
I
it's
agree.
it's an
I
absolute
agree.
honor to work with people and educate them on not only their endocannabinoid system, but other non-pharmacological, non-cannabis, phytocannabinoid ingesting ways of nourishing and supporting that system. And to watch them taper down and in some cases come off of these medications, they have their lives back.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful thing. Honored
It
to
is a
do this.
beautiful. Me too.
Really,
And so
really.
let's just kind of step into, because this has happened to a lot of patients, and I actually have like amazing stories that I could share, and I'm probably not going to get them today, but I want to talk about what happens over time. Okay, PTSD, right? Post traumatic stress disorder. The last thing we should be doing is traumatizing our patients. So, and I know that we're not doing it on purpose, but I want to review what PTSD looks like and what happens to the brain. So, according to the National Council for Behavioral Health, 70% of adults in the United States have experienced some type of traumatic event in their lives. Experiencing trauma dramatically increases the risk in 7 of the top 10 causes of death and a 20-year reduction in lifespan. That's huge. There's a psychological, neurological, and biochemical impact of early life stress and trauma can be reversed. So basically, when it comes to PTSD and a lot of patients that we see, they all have had some level of trauma. And we're seeing this more and more and more with chronic illness, with pain, and also the mental health comorbidity that goes along with it. PTSD is the 4th most common psychiatric disorder, affecting 10% of all men and 18% of all women. PTSD affects the mind, the body, and the spirit. And some of those other comorbidities that we talked about are the anxiety, depression, alcohol addiction, and substance abuse. So when you think about what happens to the brain when you're in that constant fight or flight, right? Brain does change. Studies in PTSD are consistent with changes in cognition and brain structure. Carrie Lee, do you have your notes up?
I do.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the 4 main areas of the brain. I'm going to let you.
Okay, so it looks like the hippocampus actually gets smaller. The hippocampus is responsible for our learning and our memory. The amygdala, it goes into overdrive. So this makes it really difficult for us to process things, emotional processing, and
memory.
The emotional memory. And then our prefrontal cortex, it can literally it can go offline. And so the prefrontal cortex is what helps us to think, plan, and solve problems. And then our brain stem is overstimulated to fight, flight, freeze, and collapse. So chemical shit show happens, basically, people. Chemical shit show.
It does. So you think about, okay, so here we go. We have the brain. You okay there, girl?
Sorry. Yeah.
Let's open up those airways. No, that's all right. It's all good. Yeah, I know. A little sniff, sniff, cough. I know it's a little chilly here. Absolutely. The cool weather for me actually causes a little bit of that airway tightness. But anyways, let's get back to conventional treatment to an already dysregulated brain. So you think about the PTSD is already causing problems in 4 major areas of our brain. But do you think about when we are administering pharmaceuticals, we have the SSRIs, which are the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. We have the SNRIs, the serotonin norepinephrine reuptake inhibitors. We have antipsychotics, other drugs that are off label. And then you have to think about what does that cause, that cascade over time, the drug nutrient depletion and the other polypharmacy with the other comorbidities. So when you think about cannabis, right, you think about all those areas of the brain that we just talked about, cannabis stimulates receptors in these areas of the brain, which does what? Inhibits anxiety, right? So the hippocampus is about learning and memory. Wow, cannabinoids can help with that. The amygdala is where we process emotions. Wow, how cool is that cannabinoids can help us to process emotions. And then we have the prefrontal cortex, right? We have that area of our brain that helps us think, plan, and solve problems. Well, guess what? Cannabinoids can help with that. Cannabinoids actually help with neuroplasticity. It's a neuroprotectant. And I think actually makes you a little bit smarter if you utilize it the right way.
I agree with
So here's the thing too. So biopsychosocial spiritual approach to PTSD and pharmaceutical trauma, right? And what does that look like, Carrie? When we're taking care of the mind, body, and spirit.
So the cannabinoids feed and nourish all 11 organ systems and our immune system, and the neurotransmitter signaling systems that tell our body to either do something or not to do something. So cannabinoids are adaptogens. They help our mind, body, and spirit adapt to stress.
Yes, right. And so CBD is a great solution to polypharmacy. Why? due to it being a pleiotropic type of plant, right? And so pleiotropic means this: it's working on multiple different physiological systems all at the exact same time. So I'm going to pull up this really handy dandy slide for you
And
all.
I'd like to also throw out that's exactly the main reason I sought out CBD years ago before I became a cannabis nurse, was to help me. My goal was to come off of or significantly reduce the
Yeah.
medications that I was on. So thank you, plant medicine, because guess what? I am down to 2 medications from 10.
So great. And you were on
It
some
is.
pretty heavy duty things, Carey Lee,
I was
pretty.
on a really hardcore psychiatric medications. Pretty much that list that you went down, I had one of each and then some. And it
There we
was
go.
a nightmare. Nightmare.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
look at this really, really cool slide right here.
Okay.
Okay. And so when we talk about the endocannabinoid system, we have an endocannabinoid system not because of the plants, but we create components in our body just like the plant. So the plant makes THC, we make anandamine. The THC molecule is 10 times stronger than our anandamine molecule, or another way of saying that is our anandamine molecule is 1/10 the strength of the THC molecule. So we produce internal endogenous cannabinoids upon demand to help regulate all of our organ systems and these messenger signaling systems that I just pulled up here. So you can see all of these different signaling systems and how CBD might benefit. CBD doesn't work just one way. And
It's
CBD,
amazing.
yes, I love
It's
that. And it doesn't,
miraculous, you know?
yeah, it is miraculous. And it
How can
doesn't
you
just work.
deny that this plant was not put on this earth to help support human life? I mean, it's just,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's really cool. And I got this really beautiful slide from Dr. Cody Peterson. He is a pharmacist. He's on LinkedIn and he does some amazing education. And I really, really loved this slide because it turns out that CBD, I love this, is a very promiscuous molecule, right? And it doesn't mind interacting with any of the old protein coupled receptors, right? So this image only shows a few of the dozen places that CBD binds in the body. So we need to think about that CBD doesn't just activate all of the receptors, but it can activate, agonize, block, antagonize, modulate numerous receptors in the body all at the same time. So just look at some of these images up here. CBD interacts with other neurotransmitter signaling systems such as the serotonin, the GABA, the glutamate, as well as the CB1 and CB2 receptors. Also works to modulate anandamine and enzymes like FA that break down the internal endogenous cannabinoids. So if you think about it, this can be really, really helpful in treating numerous diseases. And the reason why it works so well because there's so many different binding sites in the body. And so the other thing that just going to keep adding on to that is it makes this CBD very difficult to explain to conventional health professionals because they're used to using single molecule.
Yes.
And let me pull up another handy dandy slide here if I can find it. Probably not, but I'm going to get back to the umbrella concept. So one of the things that I heard in regards to talking about pharmaceuticals and the difference between pharmaceuticals and cannabinoids, especially when we're using whole plant medicine, is that pharmaceuticals are a single isolated molecule. When you're using whole plant medicine, it is what? Multiple constituents, not only cannabinoids, terpenes, essential fatty acids, bioflavonoids, and cannaflavins. So we have this very rich plant. And so when we teach on the endocannabinoid system, you think about we have the umbrella. Okay, think about our umbrella concept. Imagine that your body is that umbrella. All of the spokes of the umbrella are your organ systems. The fabric pieces that connect to the spokes of the umbrella are those messenger signaling systems. The very tippy top of the umbrella is where the endocannabinoid system blankets on top of our entire body because we have receptors, like I said, on the cell surfaces of all of our organ systems, and the neurotransmitter signaling junction sites. We produce anandamide and 2-AG upon demand to shower on our umbrella to keep it in balance. If we don't produce enough of our own, guess what happens? Messages don't get where they need to go, and our systems start to break down, and symptoms may start to manifest. So single isolated molecule. So think about your umbrella. When you're taking a pharmaceutical, that single isolated molecule will go to an area on your umbrella and will start to poke it. Think about it. It's plugging in, it's poking. There it is, there it is. It's only hitting only one targeted system. And so then what happens is you have that cascade of side effects that may happen because it's only supporting one particular area of the body. Switch over to cannabis, right? We have cannabinoids showering on our entire umbrella instead of just poking the umbrella in one place. So cannabinoids, right, shower on our umbrella, go to all of the 11 organ systems, our immune system, and those neurotransmitter signaling systems. CBD is the promiscuous molecule, the great influencer that helps our body to work in harmony with all of the cannabinoids. I think that is really, really powerful. I don't know about you, Carey Lee.
It's absolutely, it is. Oh my gosh. The influencer. I love that. I love that verbiage to describe it.
Influencer. Yes.
Yeah.
So here we are on Wednesday, and this has been an awesome show. Gosh, we went for 30 whole minutes.
Yeah.
And what do we have going on later on? So let me just see here. So tonight we have a show with Christy Chapman of Chapman Health and Wellness. And this is going to be a great show tonight, everyone, because she's a respiratory therapist. Okay, we're going to hear it firsthand from a person that is a respiratory care therapist who's worked in the intensive care units. She's worked with multiple patient populations, and she's going to share her compelling story of healing and what started her on her journey to form her business called Chapman Health and Wellness. She also has an award-winning CBD topical. So we're going to get into that as well tonight. So make sure you join us tonight, 8 p.m. live Eastern Time, The Green Nurse. The other thing, what else do we have going on? Well, we have our community. What's going on in the community, Carey Lee? We're starting to dial up.
Are we getting the show on the road again? No, we're back home now.
We're back home now. Yeah, back home. So the Holistic Caring Community Network is here. I don't know if you all know, but I'll just remind you. Holistic Caring is a company that was founded in 2016 by Elizabeth Mack out in San Diego. And the Green Nurse was a concept that I started here on the East Coast in 2016. East Coast meets West Coast, and now we've developed this platform for patients, for providers, and for all people that are looking to learn how to use this plant in a safe, effective way. So come into the community, free introductory to cannabis course, patient portal, patient support group, monthly webinars, monthly book club, and you don't need to own the book, right? Cannabis for health, become a coach. I'm just going to whisper it all right here. Guess what? You guys all have to become your own coach because there's no one more important than you, right? No one more important. So I want to whisper that. And the part that's so cool about this book, you don't need to own the book to be part of the book club. I don't know any more cool people than us nurses that want you to come to the book club. You don't need to buy the book, and we're going to discuss it because we care and we want you all to learn. And then what else do we have going on? Harvest Cup time. I wish you were here, Carey Lee. Here in New England. I know. I got to find my little bag. I don't know where it is. But anyway, so in Massachusetts, they've been doing this for quite a few years. I think it started in 2017, the Harvest Cup. So the Harvest Cup is an amazing event that's put on in Worcester, Massachusetts, where there are a lot of people that are displaying their businesses. There's products. And the part that I love is that I was invited to participate in judging some cannabis products. So there were a lot of companies that brought in submissions. I'm not allowed to say what I have what I voted on until after the Saturday. So there's a judges party at the Summit Lounge, which is a consumption lounge here in Massachusetts, where we're going to be turning in, I already filled mine out, our judges book on the different products that we evaluated. So that's going to be this Saturday, and I'm going to be going live from there. I think Green Nurse Denise is going to come with me. And then the
Fun.
following weekend, November 13th and 14th, is going to be the actual Harvest Cup, where there's going to be a ton of vendors, a ton of people that are there that are learning about the plant. We've got dispensaries, we have CBD stores, we've got cannabis, we've got cultivators, seeds, you name it, medical
Wow.
professionals, dispensaries. It's really, really a good time. And I'm
Wow.
glad they're able to have it this year. They weren't able to have it last year. And it's really been an amazing time. And we're going to be going live throughout that event as well, so we can bring you that information.
It sounds like a really fun way to learn about
Yeah.
all facets of it. So that's
Yes, and
awesome.
people are so welcoming and so nice, and it's a good event. So I'm looking forward to seeing everyone this weekend at the judges party as well as at the Harvest Cup. And I'll be putting some information up in the Green Nurse community as well as on the Facebook page about the Harvest Cup. So those that live in the New England area can actually come and visit us and see all the exciting things that are happening in the cannabis space in New England. I think that about does it for today. Carrie Lee, I don't know about you, but I'm going to have a trusting day. I'm going to trust, trust in the universe, trust in the spirit of plant medicine, and trust myself, right? That I'm going to make the best decisions to care for myself.
That's what I
see if
was just going
anyone,
to say. I'm going to trust myself and just really go with that and listen,
yeah,
boom, and follow and know I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. Boom,
exactly,
right?
exactly. Yeah. Good stuff. Carrie Lee, thank you for joining me as always. Remember, let me just say, Carrie Lee has the Daily 5 to Thrive. Her company is Soul Thrive, doing amazing things.
Yeah.
And Carrie Lee, what's it all about, girl?
It is all about living your best life and showing others how to do the same.
We love you all, and we will see you tonight and tomorrow morning.